still in a strong enough spot where whether ban or pick or at least just game strategy have some sort of plan around Nika's King Arthur?
I'd almost expect a little bit more of that frontline preference for, as far as the bans are concerned, at least for game number 1 here. Jade Dragons being in that first pick position as well does give the Oni Warriors at least a little bit of insight to see what direction their draft might be headed based off that first pick choice, but I'm kind of anticipating some looks towards Fafnir and Amir here out of the Jade Dragons. Seems as though they want to start things off hot, though, with an immediate takeaway of that Morrigan. Just not going to provide any sort of opportunity for Dardas to get a slight comfort pick here.
Mercury continues to be a mainstay as far as bans go up against the Jade Dragons. It seems like Sanford Soccer is just not going to get the opportunity to play the pick. The way that he impacts the map, and we know that he loves those dual lane ganks underneath the tier 1 towers with their Mercury all the way across the lane. So we won't be seeing any of that in game number 1. Fenrir takes a seat alongside the Ymir. Look, Neil has struggled, as the rest of the Oni Warriors team have. Not a standout struggle necessarily for Neil, but a strong pick, I think, in the Ymir. Probably smart for the Dragons to take that away.
Jade Dragons also looking to eliminate that Raven, so a lot of dive and just chaos essentially being stripped away here from the Jade Dragons' initial bans, and I do think that that's smart given the play style that the Oni Warriors have revealed so far, Dolson. They have a tendency to look for those big flank opportunities. They have a tendency to try and create a lot of chaos throughout engagements so as to give Dardas and their backline in general a little bit more room to work with, but Fafnir actually going to be the direction here from the Oni Warriors, so I thought it would have been Jade Dragons looking to take away both of those, but I do like this even split, and the jungle focus as well, clearly evident here from the Oni Warriors. We have seen Sam kind of lean towards more of that utility play style, though, with the Humbatses and the like. So I'd imagine that this is relatively open-ended so far for the Jade Dragons. Umoja still nearly up for grabs, and I don't think that they necessarily have to lock in a solo laner this early on, but if they're looking to try and give their backline a little bit more insight as to where the front line is headed from the Oni Warriors, they could just look to withhold their picks for now.
And I like that you bring up the Umoja, because the Ymir banned out, of course, by the Dragons. Fafnir taken away by the Oni Warriors. 4 of the last 6 games, Mike has played either Ymir or Fafnir. It's been Hercules and Umoja on either side. Tiamat left open. This has quickly become a popular pick for Hurrywind. He's looked great on this pick out of the mid lane. A lot of mid laners in the SPL have. Last 2 games, actually, Hurrywind played this Tiamat, both games against the Valkyries, 8-0-11, 6-1-8 on the first game in that set, and then a win against the Leviathans. The only win in the last set against the Leviathans was also Tiamat for Hurrywind, so 1-1-12. Interesting, then, that the Oni Warriors give that pick over to Hurry, given such recent success. And I would say if this Osiris gets locked in, it's a solo lane pick, but we have seen it sometimes out of the jungle. So a little flexibility maybe then for the Oni Warriors.
It's also just the fact that I think the Oni Warriors, knowing that the Tiamat was probably going to be a heavy priority here for the Jade Dragons, there is still an opportunity to look for a Gilgamesh in response. I'd imagine that the Oni Warriors don't want to let the Jade Dragons have both of those, so Gilgamesh will be their primary reflex pick, but I also have a tendency to believe that the Oni Warriors, they're a team that tends to play up to the standards of what their direct opposition is, and the Umoja lock-in, no surprises really. I think that will be an excellent acquirement there for Neil Ma, and it introduces a lot of that whole dive the backline mentality here.
Yeah, I think that's strong, and again, that's a pick that Mike has gone to, and the Ymir and the Fafnir have been taken away, so we'll have to see something a little bit different for Mike here this game. The Hercules gets picked. That's something similar to his last 6 games. If it's not a Hercules, it's something a little bit different. How about this, though? The Awilix locked in. 1 game played, 100% win rate, and the Jade Dragons, they feel like game number 1 here against the Oni Warriors is a chance to expand that win rate a little bit further.
And I can't blame Sam for wanting that Sawilish. Featherstep, incredibly strong. She's able to negate that drop kick out of the Gilgamesh if the timing is correct. And it's a fairly easy one to beat Gilgamesh on the timer for. So a lot of outplay potential, I think, so far with this Sawilish. Also going to make those Riptide escapes for the Umoja a little bit more problematic. Have to remember that Riptide does provide an opportunity for Gravity Surge to go off. And then obviously Gilgamesh's Hero Escape not going to be as prime of an escape opportunity, given that Awilish can also pull him back in. But all of this backline and burst damage introduced now for the Jade Dragons, they really need to look, and I'm expecting gold. Yeah, the Odin ban's already taken place here for the Oni Warriors. That would have been great to try and corral this Oni Warriors team, but I think that there is still a possibility that we could see the likes of perhaps an Ares or a Xing 10 as a solid initiation factor for the Jade Dragons.
Yeah, both teams have kind of flip-flopped as far as pick priority goes here. Both junglers, we're assuming, get locked in, but then it's backline and damage as far as mid and hunter for the Jade Dragons, then it's support and solo lane on the other side for the Oni Warriors. So you'll see that reflected in the bans, of course. Kabrakan taken off the table, Raijin on the other side also is going to get taken away from Dardes here. So the Jade Dragons still a lot to work with and maybe worry about in the hunter and mid lane pool for the Oni Warriors. It's kind of a unique position, really, for both sides, I guess, where the Oni Warriors now can kind of cater their mid and hunter picks around the engage in the Jade or the engage in the initiation maybe that the Jade Dragons are building.
Giannis is a potential here though for Dardes. Hasn't been banned by either side. Clearly Jade Dragons would definitely have the priority preference for Tiamat given how strong that individual pick is, but the Giannis could be an interesting getaway factor as well as an interesting initiation factor here for the Oni Warriors. They already have a ton of mobility, even with some of the restrictive presence that Awilish is going to introduce throughout that early and mid game. Still feel as though the mobility itself between Gilgamesh, Moja, Guan Yu, and now this Hachiman, have to remember the mounted archery can cover a lot of ground in a very short time span, and that could be just further enhanced by a Giannis and those portals.
Well, Hachiman is going to have to use that ultimate to get out of the engage and the big circular AoE lockdown that the Jade Dragons are bringing here to game number 1 between a Cerberus and a Cthulhu. The Jade Dragons, they get some decent space control here, Taco, to round out their front line. We had mentioned how it was damage backline and jungle between hunter and mid early.
These guys should be down here at this level. They just kind of had a rough start, I think, this season.
I mean, the Jade Dragons are the playoff champions, man. I know that we're talking about on the desk a little bit who's the favorite here. I think you could still say Jade Dragons should be considered a heavy favorite. Just a little bit of a rougher start to the split so far. And taking a peek at these drafts holistically, J-Mac, I'm liking what I'm seeing from both teams. We get to see Sanford Soccer kind of go for this more early game-centric style around level 6 to level 10 is really where he's going to start to hit his stride. And then you've got this late-game core of Fino K and Panda Cat that's going to help out so much inside of the team fight. So I think it's really up to the Oni Warriors, especially around Fred, to set the pace.
Yeah, it really feels like they're kind of drafting around their strong suits here. They want Sam to be that big carry for them, so what did they do? They drafted 3 gods with giant knockups on them that can really kind of help favor and bring him into presence on that one. Then you got this little bubble you can build around Cuvo Fred. I mean, you've got Neil with the emojons there. It seems to be one of his primary picks, and a pick that's oftentimes banned against him as well.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot sing enough praises for Yamoja, right? The healing, the mobility you afford your team, the lockdown pressure of that ultimate. And if you take a peek at their long lane, just in general, the Oni Warriors have drafted pressure through the Yamoja, who should be able to make it a little bit easier to work their way through this early game. And then Vote can be left alone on an island in this Hachiman. Way back in Season 7, we say Hachiman, Jingwei, those are the 2 safe hunters in the game. You've got CC immunity from the ultimate, a nice dash. So I think that they're going to be just fine over here in the long.
Well, you can see a little bit of scuffle so far between these dual lanes. They really want to try and establish that early presence. But when it comes to, Cerberus Artemis, they're not super unsafe for the time being, but you have Hachi Emoja against you on the flip side of that one, so there is a lot of pressure that Neil can put up for them. But most importantly, those traps from Panda Cat, those have come in pretty big in some of the more recent team fights with other teams that we've seen. Some people tend to kind of forget about those traps.
Hey, man, they're kind of invisible nowadays. They didn't used to be, but I think it was about late Season 6, early Season 7, Artemis saw a buff to her traps, extends the range you can place them down at, and also gives them a little bit of translucency on the map itself. And I like to consider Artemis the god of, if you're CC'd, expect to get CC'd even longer.
Well, Dardes is going to get CC'd pretty heavily there. Needs one more basic before into the separate. And Sam's going to pick up an early first blood on the Wheelish for the Dragons.
That does not bode well for the Warriors. Sanford Soccer already off to a great start. Should be able to go back to base and then immediately finish off that mace and take a peek at the map. Red buff invaded, purple buff getting invaded as well. Jade Dragons controlling these camps.
And this just seems to be the name of the game for the Dragons. In the last couple of games that they've had where they've gotten this early pressure, they've been invading those camps on second.
Put some pressure on Anika. Mike still hanging around, and that buff spawning right now. Expect a fight.
Oh, you can already see it. Level 7 on Final K, level 5 on Mike. Cubo and Nika here. Sanford Soccer is as well. Meyer gets dropped down by Final K. They get the blue buff on the back end of it, and out scot-free. Didn't have to use any relics to get that one.
As well as just burst damage. I think that this is a god that is very strong, and it's surprising that he was able to get it in the 10th pick slot.
Well, Sam is going to stare at Nika. Nika's going to stare right back at him, so there's not going to be any gank as far as that goes. But Sam might be looking to take this blue buff away. Gets the nice little knock-up on to Cubo. Cubo forced to run away, but Final K is in that Descent of Madness. Will get him with the knock-up and the ultimate transformation. That's going to be another kill on the board for the Dragons. Another blue buff stolen away there as well. And Sam is still looking for more. Feather step onto Nika, forced to run back into the tower. But I'm sure Final K is more than happy to tank that tower up for them. Onto the cavalry charge he goes, but Nika is not safe for long. Okay, maybe he is safe.
Able to get his way out of there. It was a little bit longer on the feather step coming back up, but meanwhile on the left side of the map, it's equal parts dominance here for the Jade Dragons. Panda Cat trying his best to pressure out Vote. Wasn't quite on the mark with the trap there, and well, Vote can't fight inside his minion wave because we're already looking at a charged bow pickup for this Artemis. That is good AoE damage. Cubo Fred forced to make the rotation over.
Like a level and a half probably for more than anything, but with only 2 kills, they have put this much pressure across the map. How do the Warriors even hope to kind of fight against this? Because again, they're about to lose out on another blue buff.
Well, maybe you want to get to the blue buff before it falls, and that's what Nika tried to do. Now trying to find that engage, and the rest of the boys are showing up. Jade Dragons just got to retreat.
Sam's going to leap away. PBM is here to play zone duty to make sure to keep the other 3 off, and he will do just that. Not able to get anything off of the attempted engagement there for the Warriors. The Dragons, they walk away with a blue buff, and they walk away with their lives. Or maybe not.
Yeah, PBM tries to head back in there, seeing if maybe he could poke someone out. Finds Neilma for his trouble, and well, Hurrywin's got the damage.
Neilma's taking a lot of damage on that and throws up the River's Rebuke. Hurrywin gonna leap in aggressively, but now he's trapped inside the Winds of Shamash. Might be a little overzealous there for the mid laner. I say that, but Sam is here, heroic leap, and the drop kick will seal the deal for him. Sam needs one more basic, but he just can't find it. Finally leaps off the Jaguar and able to grab him.
Hey, that's the double-edged sword that is the power of Tiamat. You get a little bit overused to it. You're thinking to yourself, all right, I'm the big man on campus. I can do whatever I want. Single rotation of it, and already starting to make their way over there again.
One thing I'm noticing is a difference here. Once again, we're seeing Panda Cat go for this more bow-style build, but Vote has changed it up a little bit. He's gone for a stacking item with those Devo gloves. I mean, it feels like those stacking items have kind of fallen out of favor for the Hunter meta, aside from maybe the occasional Transcendence. What's up with the establishing their presence throughout here? Keep stealing away these camps, and Sam might just be stealing away another kill. Forces out the ultimate from Vote, putting him down to a quarter health by himself.
Setting up for the gold free pretty nicely is the jungler of the Jade Dragons. Neilma trying to step forward, spots out, but alone can do nothing. Instead, gold free should go the way of the Dragons pretty easily here, and we can get a breakdown of exactly where this lead originated. It was a purple and red buff invade on second rotation of buffs, and then the Jade Dragons unorthodox decide, all right, well, we got the timer over here. Let's go bully Nika a little bit. And then it's 4 back-to-back blue buff invades, a Pyromancer takedown, and then 14 minutes into the game, they look towards the gold free. It's a very different approach to the map, and it feels like the Oni Warriors weren't quite ready for it.
Well, they're looking at Final K, and I'm not sure he's the target you're able to take down. He's level 15 and still has that Descent to Madness, so he's going to be just fine. Ends up trading ult for ult there with his fellow solo laner. And
only made louder by the performance we've seen from Sanford Soccer. This guy is everywhere. He's ganking the soul lane. He's forcing Vote's ultimate. He's setting up for Gold Furies. It's been a little bit of disparity here inside of jungle pressure.
Both these two teams coming into today will hold that thought. Hurrywin under a little bit of fire here. Kiva's going to bounce him off the winds, and Hurrywin will likely fall. Here it's Dardez going to be the one to pick up the final kill for him. So finally the Oni Warriors strike back and get something on the board. But now Dardez is at half health. Final K and Sam have rotated over, and that's going to be a quick death in response to their mid laner. Dragons get another kill on the board, and they might be looking for a little bit more.
They might be, but there's not much to take as of right now. Pyromancer has respawned and is the best POI on the map 17 minutes in. Once we see Hurrywin respawn, could even imagine the Jade Dragons go for an early Fire Giant here. Oni Warriors realize that they cannot step up to this Pyromancer as it is just Nika and Neilma in range.
Just how much power you get from going this bow build.
I mean, Silver Branch so strong for Artemis in general as she does have one of the better attack speed stims. Neilma in a little bit of trouble himself, gets pulled in by the Stygian Torment and loses his life. But we got a little look at Dardas' damage output. Sam for Soccer tanks up the entire ultimate, gets dropped down to 10% HP. That is a silver lining for the Oni Warriors if they could find these situations to facilitate Dardas, who is one of the only leads on their side of the map, could make it a little bit more difficult for the Jade Dragons to just do whatever they want.
But even despite Dardas having that lead, I mean, look at the item disparity. He's still a full level behind his opposition. That doesn't mean that Soul can't do the damage. Like I said, you get hit by every tick of Supernova. That's going to chunk, especially if you throw that Stellar Burst in on top of that one. So Dardas does still have some fight back into him. That Spear of the Mags and Typhon's working really well with him, going into one of the rings as well. But Sam is setting up for a gank here to establish for the Oni Fury that's going to be spawning here. Nika stepping forward as well as Cuvo, but I'm not sure if Cuvo wants to try and pick a fight with Sam at this stage.
Oni Warriors have to look for a reactive style here. Wait for the Jade Dragons to pull the Fury, generate that threat, and then the Warriors can step in. Use that neutral objective as an unofficial 6-man. Good poke already onto Final K, and you can already see the Oni Warriors are doing exactly that. They're waiting for something to force them to step up.
Oni Fury started up down to almost half health already, but Dragons are going to leash it as the Oni Warriors step forward. The bubble thrown out by Neil. Just does a little bit of a zoning, but Mike blinks into the back, picks up one, but Dardas will immediately drop himself down with the beads. Final K up into the madness, looking for something, but he is already so low and will fall down. Nika gonna be the one to claim that kill for the side of the Warriors. Panda Cat still poking at this Fury, trying to get those Odysseus Bro procs going onto the team. Oni Warriors still holding on to that Fury, but they're just bouncing it back and forth.
It's so dangerous for the Warriors to commit, even though there is a teammate disparity here. Final K dead for 40 more seconds, but Caledonian Boar still available. Gravity Surge as well. Gotta choose your fight smartly.
And Nika's going into the back. Heroic leap out of Cuvo. Fred Hurrywin manages to find Dardas in the mix of it, and Hurrywin is still full health. He's gonna throw out the knockup onto Cuvo and pick up the double kill for the mid laner. One more base and go get the triple kill onto Hurrywin. Mike has made his way back into the fight, looking to slow down the frontliners. Up onto the cavalry charge goes Nika, just looking to try and do something to Hurrywin, but he's so tanky on that ground stance. He only lost a third of his health through all of that.
It's just so difficult to deal with Tiamat when she's got the ball running, and 21 minutes into the game might be a little bit too late. Stygian Torment forces the beads off of Neilma. Nika does get pulled in, but the damage output quite not there. Instead,
it really just that experience that's denying Cuba. I mean, look, he's 4 levels down on this Gilgamesh.
Yeesh.
2 Sam for Soccer, almost basically a full item. He's about to be completely behind on Sam, who is just looking to finish what I imagine will be that Erendite for his final item onto it. That's a bit of a rough patch for Cuba. Yeah, it's a hit in the mental for the speed buff. But I think it's just even worse because now he really doesn't have much left in the tank to fight back onto him.
Second, but that this item came back into the meta. The second Vampiric Shroud was available. Hindman screamed that we're going to see it, and, well, he writes the script, and here we are, week 3. We're finally starting to see it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think maybe that's also risen to some of the Guardians, though Final K hasn't gone for it here. In fact, he went for the Tainted Steel start up for himself, trying to counter up a little bit of that anti-heal that Nika provides and that Neil can provide for him as well. But starting up the Fire Giant is the Jade Dragons, dropping it almost to around half health so far, but it's only Panda Cat really doing any damage to it. Feels like they're just trying to go for the bait here. Nika dives into the pit. Polar Bear Mike gonna walk out of it as well as Panda Cat, seeing if they can get any kind of setup here. Meyer finds Neil. Neil's gonna be forced to use the beads out of the Gravity Surge. Final K goes into the back and into the madness he goes. Neil has no chance of making out. Final K will pick him up in that ultimate transformation. Dardas getting low as well. Knockup comes through. Gonna be immune by the Aegis. Hurrywin manages to find one, and Panda Cat the other. Final K double kill and add another one on the board for Panda Cat. A quick deicide for the Dragons.
30 seconds left on the nearest respawn, and that is a Yamoja, and a Yamoja at level 15 could see the Jade Dragons go ahead and barrel down the Phoenix or step back towards the Fire Giant. Can essentially do no wrong on the map with a lead that they've established for themselves. 12,000 up, and, well, it's going to be Fire Giant as the target here. Gotta think they could have had the opportunity to go for that right side Phoenix and then regroup for the Fire Giant, but instead, no risk here, no risky plays. We're going to go ahead and cross our T's, dot our I's, do whatever we have to on the map, and Sam for Soccer at least can be able to strip away this tier 2, it seems like, and then work into the Oni Warriors jungle. Every single buff on the left-hand side, they take a fight, does not pan out very well for them. Now, 26 minutes in, too much gold behind. I'm not sure how much I love their odds on the defense, but their composition is good at separating these engagements. If the Jade Dragons send 2 people into melee range on the Phoenix, well, Neilma can use his ultimate to separate the fight. Winds of Shamash can do largely the same thing and artificially manufacture a fight where the Oni Warriors can win.
And Final K has already taken almost all of Darda's health into the back. Gonna get a nice little bit of a heal there from Neil to make sure that he can stay alive for the time being. Nika now down to half HP, and the Winds of Shamash will zone out the rest of the team. So for now, the Phoenix defense holds strong for the Warriors. Final K in a very awkward spot for himself, down to a quarter health.
Man, to separate is such a good tool, isn't it? It just gets you out of every single situation. Dardes makes it out by the skin of his teeth.
And now Polar Bear Mike gonna jump into the back line. He's not gonna get anybody with that ultimate, unfortunately, but they will manage to get the Phoenix and maybe looking for more. Final K dashes aggressively into the back. They find Boat for Sam for soccer. And Neil getting low as well. Panic Cat will be the one to pick him up. Nika under half. And Cuvo Fred has taken the awkward path out of the base to try and zone the rest of the Dragons away from this fight. Minion comes out, but Cuvo looks like he is long gone for now. But Hurrywin is not going to let him run away for free. He's going to keep right on his tail.
Yeah, might as well stop his back. Gotta think that someone else would have been better suited for it, as Hurrywin is playing a late game Tiamat, but seems like he's not too needed inside the engagement. Mid Phoenix falls down very quickly. Very little defense shown from Dardes and Nika here. Only one bird still standing for the Oni Warriors. Time to dig in your heels, boys.
And they're going for that third Phoenix immediately. Now Cuvo is finally making his way back to the base, only because he's papped himself back for it. Hurrywin is still looking for more, as well as for soccer drop kick. Throws him off of the walls of the winds, but Hurrywin will finally, after such a long Benny Hill chase, will manage to grab him. But not before Cuvo takes down Sam for soccer in the process of it. Vote now back on the respawn timer, and I don't think they're going to be able to go for this Titan now.
I think the Jade Dragons can do just about anything they want. I feel like I've been saying that for the last 28 minutes, but I feel like I've been right for the last 28 minutes.
I think so onto that one. I mean, we've also seen
despite this massive goal disparity, take a peek at the builds. They're not too different. We're already approaching that true 6-slotted item, but the Oni Warriors are going for a bit of a cheeky play here. We see this sometimes in the SPL. They want to see if they can catch someone out of position.
Gonna wrap around, see if maybe they can find Mike or Hurry, but there's 3 from the Dragons here. Stun's not gonna find anybody. A nice Riptide will keep Hurrywind at bay and force him to leap away. Fine in the midst of all of them. Into the madness he goes, down to a quarter health he goes as well. Just trying to play a little bit of zone, get some nice AoE damage, and gets a nice little bit of proc for Sam. Final K picks up 1, but Cuvo will finally take down the monstrous Cthulhu. Neil low, and Cuvo down. Nika under a quarter health. Neil under a quarter health. That's gonna be a full deicide on the Warriors. Jade Dragons can just push up and end this game.
Oni Warriors, man, it was a good plan if you spot someone out that isn't fine. Okay, sure, they do finally put them into a coffin, but at what cost? The cost of 5 members exactly is what happens here. At the cost of your Titan as well. Might even not have the chance to get there, do the Jade Dragons. As the Fire Mini Waves, yeah, well, they're going to beat you there.
And all 3 lanes are going to get there before them, by the way. They might even just let it happen here. 21 seconds for the next person to come up online for it. They're actually just waiting. They're just going to let the minions do all the work. They haven't touched it. Okay, aside from the Tiamat minions, those have come through and finally done a bit of damage there. The Jade Dragons able to close this one decisively. It took them a little while, 30 minutes. They closed this one out.
He just felt like a punching bag in that solo lane territory. Fine, okay, Sam, Mike, they were just non-stop harassing Nika and Cuvo inside of their blue buff, and really not a whole lot left for Cuvo to do to really try and combat anything there. Doing whatever he wanted in terms of free casting, because there was just so much expended to kill that Cthulhu in the first place, no resources left over to actually deal with the Tiamat.
Yeah, let's kick off those picks and bans for game number 2. And I agree with you there, Taco. My eyes are on Tiamat in this pick ban phase. Oni Warriors have first pick, so it actually might come down to the Jade Dragons feeling like they have to ban that one out if they don't want to give the Tiamat on over to Dardes. Now, 4 games out of the last 5, Hurrywin has played Tiamat, and he's won all 4 of them, and it looked absolutely incredible on that pick. So yes, I
what
think
a stat.
right in the last 6 games, 4 out of 6 games it's been Tiamat. 4 out of the last 5 though with Soul sandwiched in there. But yeah, not something I think the Oni Warriors want to go up against, but it's also not something the Jade Dragons want to go up against, being in that second pick spot. Oni Warriors probably gladly would have taken the Tiamat had it been left open. Now let's identify Sam a little bit here in the draft. Mercury, Fenrir, and then a Ymir on the other side. So Polar Bear Mike receiving a little bit of love, but I wonder when this Mercury gets out of ban prison.
Never.
Here. Ever? I mean, do you think ever? Is there a world?
Is the Jade Dragons playing, or are the Jade Dragons playing?
They are.
Yeah, you'll never see Mercury.
You don't think?
Yeah, no, not a chance.
Is it all right? I mean, this is real nitty gritty, like pick ban strategy. How much are you giving up, though? Is it in your mind, like we don't know how to play against it, or we know what's going to happen? It's just so hard because Sam's so good, and it's worth banning out the Mercury instead of something else?
A lot more of the latter,
Sure.
I think, than anything else, because Mercury he's just got a very strong win condition behind him with that semi-global as well. I'm loving this initial aggression, though, out of the Oni Warriors, just locking in that soul from the get-go, and I think that it's a smart direction to take, but you also have to remember, Oni Warriors, they got themselves in trouble taking that Gilgamesh early on, not sold, however, that they would feel all that comfortable wanting that Awelish as a response pick here for this Gilgamesh. I think the Jade Dragons may be coming out with a slight edge here so far in the draft, also, because Gilgamesh, it seems as though Cubo wanted to maybe stray away from that pick, knowing that he doesn't want to get controlled by the Awelish, but I don't think it was the Awelish alone that had all that restrictive factors with Gilgamesh. It felt like a lot of the surrounding pieces with the Awelish, like that Cthulhu and Cerberus, posed a lot more issues than anything else. But the Kuzenbo for Neil, we've definitely seen some good things happen whenever Neil has this pick, and could definitely be a very heavy harassment factor for the Artemis.
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, with Cthulhu, the discourse and the disruption is what we talked about. Kuzenbo with that ultimate can provide a little bit of that there as well. We were kind of joking, and not even so much joking, but just talking about the Artemis in the green room while that game was going on. Panda Cat just throwing out the ultimate felt like he was chunking. The boar would dash in and
yeah,
get
I need to ask
damage.
Panda how he curves his boars.
What was that movie? Is that Wanted? Is the name of the movie where they learn to like flick the gun around?
I'm not
the boar
sure.
curves?
I've never seen Tusky move. Like Panda Cat's just built different than
This one says
every
yes,
other
so
hunter
does
I've ever known, because it makes zero sense to me how
Yep.
he actually managed to get the Tusky to follow.
Well, that's just skill, right? He presses his ult button in a different way.
I don't know, man.
and,
he's got the golden touch, apparently, when he hits that 4.
He's trained the boar in a different way. How times have changed, though. Look, Giannis up against Hurrywind was a ban every single time, in the same way that Mercury for Sanford Soccer is currently a ban. But it's going to be Hurrywind Giannis here in game number 2, a chance for the Jade Dragons to take this set. Giannis, I think, has been in a intriguing spot, in my opinion, because early in Season 8, it was all Giannis all the time. It felt like every team wanted to have their mid laner play Giannis. Some could, some couldn't. Hurrywind was absolutely one that could. Where does Giannis stand in your mind right now? It's a 6th pick Giannis here for the Jade Dragons. I imagine it still looks good.
Well, for Hurrywind, it's usually almost always going to look great. I don't want to speak too early on, throwing that caster's curse his way by any means, but Hurry in general, he's just got such a consistent, like, the problem with Giannis isn't necessarily all of the mobility, it's just it's the through space and time 50-50 factor. If you actually are in a stage where you're looking for those mid-game team fight objectives, and then one of your backline carries gets waxed by a through space and time, there's just not a lot for you left to do other than to try and bail out, but you usually just get caught out on the escape because of the through space and time as well. So it's just it's very annoying, I think, for any backliner, especially one like Soul. Now the Medusa being locked in. I like some of the burst presence that's available here for the Oni Warriors. It's just, again, the concerns. How well are they going to be able to move around this map, knowing that there is that threat presence of the through space and time? It also, I think, might force some hesitation in terms of just the laning phases and looking for those 1v1 potentials, because am I going to get through space and time? Am I not? I don't know. And it's that constant factor of I don't know that I think might cause the Oni Warriors to have to take the step back here, and that's not something that they should be looking to do with such an aggressive initiation composition.
But we do see Dardas go back onto that Soul in this game.
I mean, cannot argue with soul damage, but I'm going to go ahead and hop on my soapbox now, J-Mac, because it's the early game. We're going to clear some buffs. I got some time to talk about it. If the Oni Warriors want to have a different performance here in Game 2, it's about getting involved earlier on. And that's not to say that some teams in the past haven't seen massive success with that pacifist style in the early. Back in Season 4, Eager, when they were at around 20 minutes, if they were 4,000 gold down, we'd call that the Eager lead, or even more recently, Sanguine in Season 7. They'd always come into the game 15, 20 minutes in, 4,000 down, but they would draft around that, both Eager and Sanguine. I don't think the Oni Warriors has a draft here that outscales so well due to levels that they can allow the Jade Dragons to get off to a similar start as we saw in Game 1. I want to see them get involved earlier on, especially around Cubo Fred, and especially with the itemization he's gone for here. Mannequin Scepter is an item that falls off incredibly hard early in the game. Level 7, level 8, around that point, it really gets a lot less value, which means that we're going to have Cubo Fred on a timer for the first couple minutes of this game. We want to see some impact if you're an Oni Warriors fan.
And one thing that the desk kind of did tinker and talk about here was kind of the ambiguity of the frontline draft that the Jade Dragons have gone. We kind of all think, okay, Terran and Athena. Athena's probably going to go into the duo lane. You throw the Gilgamesh. Maybe he can go solo, flexes to jungle primarily for the most part, but they're going to stick with the Gilgamesh jungle, which we kind of expected for Sam to pick that one up. Did not fully expect the Athena to go into Final K's hand.
Nice little blink for blink trade over here inside the long lane. But to speak to your point, I think Athena, inside of the soul lane, has her home there. She is a god that is allowed to rotate out earlier than just about anyone else. We've been seeing this new emphasis from these Guardians in solo, or even solo laners in general here, in this post-boots world, on early rotations, getting involved in that 3v3 around level 5, level 6, finding that rotation on the lane. Well, Athena doesn't have to work very hard for her. She presses 4, and she teleports to anyone on her team whenever she wants, as long as that cooldown is available. So I'm expecting to see Final K get involved early on.
Now, this is the presence they want to establish here for themselves. Get a nice little first blood onto Hurrywin and shut down that Giannis as quick as you can.
Not only are they shutting down that Giannis, but stripping away that red buff is going to be so nice for them. It can even start to work their way over towards that purple. And, well, Hurrywin used his beads too, so he's going to be in a little bit of trouble for the next couple of minutes.
And Neil with his Kuzumbo already doing much better for himself in this first matchup. Ends up getting the kill for that one to get himself that little extra first blood bounty. But you can see a quick response from Sam for Soccer, going to try and invade on the opposite side, but he gets spotted out by Dardes. Not sure if he knows that Dardes saw him there. Hopefully with that ward, that'll be a bit of a telegraph for him. Ooh. Actually punts that one away and manages to steal the speed buff away from them.
Yeah, wanted to drop kick it into Dardez's face, but doesn't quite connect it there, but not punished for that one at all. And despite Cubo Fred getting a lot more XP out of this trade, invades the red and purple buff, as well as confirming a couple of those neutral camps for themselves. Gotta talk about that mental stimulus, that little bit of a tilter.
It's a rough life for a jungler out here.
Yeah, but despite all those odds stacked against him, somehow Sam for Soccer able to take that one away. Oni Warriors, though, gotta sing praises where they're due. Do have a nice little lead here out so far, 4.5 minutes into this game. Looking to push it even further now, but defense for the Jade Dragons.
Oh, the blink in from Mike. He's gonna get the ultimate off, and unfortunately for Panda, he gets caught out by that Petrify from Vo, who's now forced to dash away. Final K has made his rotation in as well, looking for a target, but Dardes gonna get into the separate a little bit earlier than Final K was planning. Meanwhile, on the top side, Hurrien and Sam are able to pick up one. Dardes on the run, gonna get an early beats to stop the wall from coming through, but that's gonna leave him very vulnerable for the Monolith and for PBM to pick him up.
Dardes just does not have the survivability to get out of these situations just yet. A little overextension from the Oni Warriors, but it's not a complete wash for them. We're at least able to get a kill under their belts before they're chased out. Jade Dragons picking up 2 and close up that gold gap completely, now swinging it in their favor. Just a couple. He's charging in my face, but so I sickening strike him. When he lands, he's going to be healing for a little bit less, and that's exactly how that exchange goes. Cubo Fred now putting the pressure on a hurry when ults over the wall. Has to find the slow here, but Giannis so slippery.
Well, it's got a blink onto him, misses the sickle. The autos are doing good.
Yikes.
And manages to find him on that one, but Cubo is going to trade with his life. That one goes over to Sam for Soccer, so they get a 1-for-1 trade. Not the end of the world for the Oni Warriors, and they're still pressing forward, just like you said you need to see them do.
That's exactly what you want to see. Cannot get diminished, cannot be deterred, despite having a couple of stumbles here. And Jade Dragons are being forced to play reactively. Early rotation from PandaCat. Finds him losing out on most of his HP.
Yeah, PandaCat, you're not in a happy spot there. Dardes takes him down, and PBM manages to pick up Dardes in the process of it. They might be losing Neil, however, because he's stuck around a little too long. Has that sumo slam to run for a little bit longer. Hurrywin on the run here with Sam to try and chase him down. Threshold comes out, and they'll be able to pick up Neil pretty freely for themselves. I don't think a sumo is going to get him out of there.
Man, Final K starts charging the ult, says, all right, guys, I know you got the kill. Like, you can get it whenever you shows that he's got a little bit more emphasis put on rotations. Nika going for that same build, trying to match a little bit of what Final K is able to do with that global presence, but easier said than done as a Sobek.
Everyone's going to get shoved against the wall for you to use the through space in time, but a little too late for him onto that one. He had the beads available, but elected not to use them. Now Final K has rotated over to try and get this kill onto Dardes. The walls come through, but not enough damage, not enough forward force for the Dragon to take him down.
Maybe this was the plan from all these teams in the SPL. Ban out Hurry wins Yanis for so long that maybe it develops a little bit of rust on it. Getting caught out a couple times so far this game. 3 deaths going towards the mid laner, the Jade Dragons. But you got to trust him. Tyler is very good at this god. He's played it a whole lot in the past. Give him a little bit of time. And I'm sure he still beats down for 60 seconds on Hurry win. Dardes, both relics available. Now's the time to look for an engagement.
Well, looking at Panicat and Mike here, or at least looking at the purple buff potentially, but I don't think they're going to be able to get that kind of a steal for it. Instead, they're going to turn their sights over to Hurrywin, uses through space in time to move aggressively towards the back line. Dardes forcing to separate very early on. Final K looking for a target to taunt in. It's going to be Vote, who dashes it aggressively onto Hurrywin and takes him down. Petrify goes through, but it's only going to hit Panicat. He's going to be forced to use the Aegis for a Vote, and, well, Caledonian Boar will make sure to shut him down.
Sam for Soccer now on the retreat. Very low HP. Neilma goes into the watery grave but cannot make contact. Meanwhile, in the back line, Cubo Fred putting some work into Fine.
And Final K is going to be pushed back towards the Monolith, however. Now Cubo's the one under half. Neil might have to be careful, but Nika has made his rotation across the board. The walls come through, looking for a stun, looking at least for a defense for Pandacat. He's getting so low. Nika or Neil could be the one to shut him down here as they take down Cubo Fred. Credit to Final K on that one. But Dardes, who never went back to the base, rotates back over just to throw a nice little stellar burst and might be getting an extra kill on top of it.
Dardes in some trouble, is pulled into the shield wall. Wave cleared by Final K, at least able to get some farm before he falls down. Great rotation from Nika to change that fight up. And now Nika doing his best to keep PBM involved, but nobody in range to follow up. Meanwhile, towards the center of the map, Hurrywin was the first one to fall in that engagement, had time to respawn and go ahead and get a little bit of pressure on the map. Tier 1 tower goes the way of the Jade Dragons. A little bit more susceptible to ganks for the near future. Oni Warriors making note of that, saying, all right, well, let's force a fight over here. Let's see if maybe Pandacat steps up. Gold Fury starting to get dropped down pretty quickly, 50%, and Jade Dragons nowhere to be seen.
Now Hurrywin, no ultimate as well. No chance to steal this one away. Gold Fury goes the way of the Oni Warriors. They'll finally pick up an objective for themselves.
Well, it's a very ability-focused build here from Dardes, and Hurrywin going for that Chronos Pennant. That's bread and butter for Yanis. You want to be able to walk through walls every single time? Well, that's the item you go for.
Going for the Soul Gem onto it as well, but hold that as Pandacat gets caught out. I'm pretty sure he even saw them on the ward at one point, but there's just no saving you under the tower when you have Nika and Neil on these aggressive frontline Guardians. He just falls instantly.
He does. No beads available means, well, your life isn't going to be available for much longer. Pandacat in the grayscale for the next 30 seconds, and Oni Warriors keeping up this push. It's a slow rotation from Dardes, and PBM already in.
He's going to go in and get the stun onto Vo. Meanwhile, the rest of the team zoning inside the jungle. Hurrywin with the early through space and time. Not going to find a home on anybody. Sam going to throw out the winds of Shamash as well, but it's just a zoning tool for them.
So that way the Pyromancer still a little bit wild on their respawn, so this game should reset to neutral for the near future.
And only one tower taken away by both of these teams so far. Left side lane, tier 1 for the Dragons is gone. Meanwhile, mid for the Warriors. And Nika is going to have to go into a very early ultimate. Jump in by Sam, but he doesn't have much chase beyond here. And with Cuvo rotating over, the Warriors will make sure that they can get Nika out of danger.
The board from the Oni Warriors trying to work their way into this solo side tier 1 tower. It's a blue buff invade attempt, and
Fire?
A successful one. Fire Giant pulled out. I like this call. They force Final K back. No global available. Means you might as well go for this burn.
Hurrywin does still have ultimate. It's going to come through, clip the Fire Giant. That's going to set the rest of the team through. PBM gets pushed against the ring. Warriors do manage to get the Fire Giant, but what will they lose in response for it? In their eyes, they're not going to lose nothing except they'll take down Polar Bear Mike, who pushes up without the rest of his help. Sam blinks over trying to find Cuvo, who also expends his blink to get out of danger. Now he's looking at Nika, and he's not going to have the damage to take down Nika. Dardes is already back to the tower line, and the Warriors come out not with just the FG, but a kill on top of it. Builds are so tanky, and I'm seeing minimal penetration on both of the carries for the Dragons. How in the world are they planning on killing this front line?
maybe just utilizing the great CC that I have. I mean, Confound into Transgressor's Fate is pretty good. That's a long bit of CC. You might not have a ton of penetration inside of your build, but you got plenty of time to land your attacks onto the opposition. Oni Warriors, Cuvo Fred rather, just being a little bit annoying in the jungle, stopping a couple of backs and maybe bit off more than he could chew.
And he's going to be down to half health. A Water Grave from Neil will make sure that he can continue the fight. Forces Sam to leap over the wall. But Cuvo Fred takes a nice little unstable vortex there from Hurrywin. That's going to push him away. Last game, we haven't seen a whole lot out of Vote in the last few fights here, but every chance that he had in those duo lane fights, he was coming out on top, almost guaranteed no matter what.
And now he's looking to do that just here. Neilma blinks in and pushes Hurrywin away from his portal, forces that ultimate out early, and comes back.
He got rocked right back into his own portal. Now Vote's going to have to run away. Cuvo Fred at half. Petrify comes out from Vote but doesn't find anybody. And Panda finds Neil in the backside all by himself. Dardes gets bursted down by FineOK and Sam. And speaking of Sam, he's jumping right into the back. Going to throw the drop kick on Nika to push him under the tower. Vote going to have to go back to the fountain, and the Jade Dragons come up with a big team fight.
Every single ultimate in the game down, and the majority of the relics down on the side of Jade Dragons means that they're going to have to head back to base before they start to look towards this Fire Giant. Nika steps forward into the jaws of the beast and walks out unscathed. The Confound a little bit off the mark. Had it connected, could have cost this Sobek his life. Means that now the Oni Warriors have done a good job slowing down these backs. Nika, just by showing face, has essentially stripped away 10, 15 seconds of power play here from the Jade Dragons. Neilma already on the respawn. Darda is going to be up very soon as well. I thought this was going to be a free Fire Giant for the Jade Dragons off of that team fight, and well, now it's going to be a contested Fire Giant.
Yeah, with Darda's coming back up, Cuvo Fred is now already on this side of the map. Jade Dragons will start at the Fire Giant, get down to a quarter. Nika going into the ultimate very early to try and dissuade the Dragons, but he's only going to find FineOK with the damage onto it. Fire Giant down to half. FineOK trying to play zone duty. Sam up here, they'll blink into the backline, trying to go for Nika. They're going to find Vote amongst all of it through space, and time will clip the Hunter and take him out of the picture. Now Neil has to dash out of the Fire Giant pit and into the Watery Grave. He will go. Stun comes out onto Nika and a portal on the backside. Darda's trying to establish his presence into the fight, but Panda Cat quickly puts him right back where he belongs, into the fountain, looking for Neil as well. Hurrywin finds his second kill of the fight. Cuvo still at half health, trying to go on a full retreat. FineOK misses the Confound, however, and Cuvo may be able to make it out of this one.
Has speed buff, has a good deal of survivability, but if Confound comes back up, and it will shortly, Cuvo Fred is not going to last much longer after that. Hurrywin finally making a power play here on the Yanis. Took a little bit to get that rust off, but just a one ultimate changes that team fight completely. Darda is getting removed early on. Means that the Jade Dragons were going to have a contested Fire Giant, but do not this time around. It's going to be easy for them, going on to 5 members here, and still 3 Tier 2 towers standing for the Oni Warriors. That's a good deal of gold to swing back in favor of the Jade Dragons.
The Jade Dragons tell the Oni Warriors your free trial of the mid-game has expired. Now it's time for you to pay when it comes to the late game.
Now
they're going to
as well, that ultimate going to be very good for keeping the Jade Dragons at bay. Dardes on this soul has a good deal of survivability with the Disapparate, as well as great ability at keeping these waves out of towers, but it isn't going to be a tier 2 defense, and not even a soft defense from the Oni Warriors. Instead, we are dedicating our time to these Phoenixes. 30 minutes in, we're not going to run the risk.
Panic Cat going to be on the forefront of the squad with it, level 20 full built with his bows. Got that cowl online in the kin size. He's all 6 items online ready to swing at this Phoenix. You can see just a couple of basic attacks and what they're doing to this bird, but they're not going to be able to get this Phoenix for free. You can see Neil posturing up on the right-hand side, but Mike is going to be the one to blink in and finds the Earthen Fury onto 2. That sets up for Neil and Nika to try and run into the background. I say try, but they're already zoned right back out. Sam dives in onto Dardas, gets a supernova out of him, and a panic from the mid laner.
Through space and time, just barely off the mark, would have put Dardes down, but still created plenty of space. Jade Dragons pick up that left side Phoenix, and now you can go ahead and go for the easier play. Tier 2 towers, Oni Warriors have already shown that they're not willing to defend it, so that's just some gold to get picked up by the Dragons. Wave already pushed up as well, means that they're going to have an easier time on this mid Phoenix.
Well, Nika thought about going up to the defense, and then Final Case stepped forward and said, "You know what? Never mind. You know, I don't feel like we need to deal anything with this tower here. You take it, you have your fun. Maybe they try and go for a defense here on this right tier 2 tower. It's the only one left standing. Everybody's walking forward to it. I don't think they want to give this one up for free, but they might need to. Final K, however, he's rotated out to the top-hand side. They're in fact not even going for the tower themselves.
There's so much time left in this Fire Giant power play. It is surprising to see the Oni Warriors want to put up a defense here, but maybe realizing that the Jade Dragons have a lot of gold in their pockets right now. Stripped away so many towers, gold, Fury, Phoenix as well. This is one of the better fights for the Oni Warriors to take if they are able to establish it. Jade Dragons, though, just kind of juke them out a little bit. Nika getting pulled in.
Well, Nika does still have the charge prey if he needs to get out. Instead, he'll sit himself up at the Phoenix. And that's what the Jade Dragons are going to want to get their push. They've got minions coming through, but they may not even wait for the minions. Into the back goes Neil with the Watery Grave. And Cuvo now diving into the back onto Hurrywin and Panda Cat looking to separate the team fight. But Polar Bear Mike has picked up one. But Cuvo finds a big double kill on the backhand side. Sam takes down Vogue. Now Neil gets a push onto Sam, pushing him away from it. And it's a 3v3 skirmish between these two teams. But the health bars are in favor of the Dragons because Sam puts Cuvo in the dirt, sends him back to the fountain. Nika at half, Neil barely at 3/4 himself.
Wow.
That wall by Mike, an incredible block. Not going to get much more from there. I don't think they're even going to be able to get this Phoenix. Well, maybe with the minions coming through, they finally will drop it.
Man, that wall was so cool. Doesn't get him much. It's just essentially Mike saying, yeah, I'm that guy. I can do that. Fine, okay. Sticking around in this engagement a little bit too long, but nobody alive on the side of Oni Warriors has any damage output, so there's not a lot of threat here. Now, Oni Warriors showing a lot of presence. Keep your eyes on Neil and Cuvo. Looks like they might be trying to loop around Shades of Mouse Esports from the way back when, but too little too late. Someone has to get back to base. Left side, Phoenix going to respawn very soon, and it's Vote that's going to show himself on the map.
That's half of the Titans' health gone in an instant. Fire Giant started up by the Dragons. Nika and Cuvo at the forefront of it. Neil as well trying to make their way through. The left side Phoenix has respawned. If they can hold it, they can maybe be a worthwhile trade out for them here. So far, they've just zoned them temporarily with the Fire Giant, but Panda and Mike never left the pit. It is still slowly whittling away in health. Caledonian Boar comes out. Neil going to try and go in for the steal. Jade Dragon still got the Fire Giant. Dardes gets into Separate, but Neil doesn't have that same luxury, and neither does Hurrywin. He trades out with Dardes. Nika loses his life, however, to Sam for Sucker, and now it's Cuvo all alone on the top side of the map. The lone survivor for the Oni Warriors, but that left side Phoenix is going to go down very soon, and Fire Minions already pushing into the throne.
And take a peek at who else is pushing in there as well. Panda Cat and Final K heading on to the Titan room. All Sanford Soccer and PBM have to do is stop this back from Cuvo Fred, and it seems like maybe a futile effort from the Artemis. Doesn't even need to step up. Is this 2 games in a row? They're just going to go ahead and let the Fire Minions do it themselves. Jade Dragons looking like the Leviathans a little bit in the disrespect department.
As though they lost a little bit of sight on keeping track of where Vote was at times, and Vote kind of just looked like a stranded lone carry, just not really able to peel for himself, being the Medusa. Medusa also, I think, one of the more problematic hunters in general when it comes to an escape. Always feels as though that lacerate becomes the size of a football field for hitting someone whenever you're actually trying to get away from them, and vice versa. When you're actually trying to hit them, you know, it might as well be a needle thread. Yeah,
look, Panda Cat and Hurrywin, they got jumped on a lot this game, and so the front lines had to supply that extra damage survivability. And the Jade Dragons able to get this one done. They'll move up in the standings to 4th place, tied up at 2-2 there in the wins and losses. They will have a matchup against the Bolts tomorrow, and so that'll be an important one for the Bolts to kind of keep pace up there on top, and then the Jade Dragons a chance to further their avenues back into that top 3 here in the SPL. That's our first matchup of the day. Jade Dragons, Oni Warriors. Leviathans versus the Titans will come up next here.